Chapter 5 is the engine of evolution, and in Chapter 5, evolution is explained into more detail. Evolution is the process of a living organism that has been thought to have gradually changed or developed over time from previous generations on planet Earth. A key role that affects evolution is natural selection. In order for natural selection to occur in evolution, there has to be 3 principles that need to be obeyed. The first is heritability, which is for a species to, in order for, if a species has reproduced, its traits need to be able to be passed on to its offspring in order for future generations. The second is variation. In a population, there needs to be variation in order for natural selection to occur. And the third is reproductive success. Since offsprings will be competing for resources, the offspring need to grow and be able to reach an age where they also reproduce and pass on the future traits to future generations. Natural selection is a theory of certain adaptations that are favored more than others and can become more frequent for future generations. Many believe and misunderstand that natural selection means only the fittest of the fit of a population will survive and reproduce, and often believe that the weak ones in a species or populations with time believe that natural selection and evolution will just automatically wipe out their existence. But since there is no goal for evolution, there's no goal for natural selection either. What is favored and optimal one day may not be the next day if the environment changes. For example, if a certain species or population is favored greatly, or adaptations have helped this species in a certain environment, the next day something could happen to the environment that changes it, and that species may have a decrease in the population, and a different species may be more favored and their population size goes higher.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Martinez, and today I will be talking about adaptations and genetic drift. To start, I will be discussing horses, since their fossil record is complete, so it shows us evolution throughout time. Starting back 50 million years to the earliest recognizable member of the horse family, Hicothermia. At this time, this horse roamed through a tropical rainforest environment, but over time the horse created new adaptations best fit with the environment. What made these adaptations recognizable was seeing how these horses became more complex, because as the environment changed, horses had to develop different characteristics to help them survive or increase their fitness. So, we can see the Hippotherium had premolars that were smaller and more slender than the molars, contributing little to the grinding of food. Then 10 million years go by, which is this environment change I just discussed, which favored grasslands and reducing forest habitats. So, for horses to eat more durable grasses, they adapted by creating their teeth to become more durable to eating grains of abrasive silica. So, we see over time the premolars become larger and more complex until they resemble the molars. After the premolars, we see an increase in size. Then we see the second major adaptation of teeth in horses. A bone-like structure called cementum formed on the ground of the developing teeth, filling the depression around the bumps and ridges, so the teeth could become very tall and remain strong. Because the higher the crowns of the teeth, the longer the horse can eat a brass of grass before its teeth ended up going down to the root. Now, due to the adaptations in teeth, it caused a change in the skull shape of horses. Now, this environmental change did not just affect the teeth and the skull shape of horses, but also their feet. Now, as you see in this slide, horses used to have a four-toed feet that would be good for the moist ground. But due to environmental conditions, their feet adapted to run on harder ground, causing the middle toe to gradually increase in size as the side toes decrease in size. In horses we see today, the side toes are completely lost, and the foot bones that were there are now remnants on either side of the bone. Now we have discussed three adaptations that horses created through the environmental change: the adaptation of teeth, skull shape, and feet. All these adaptations led to the elongation of horses, mainly the elongation of the foot bone, which provided a longer stride, which gave horses the speed and endurance to flee predators, increasing the horse's fitness and proving evolution is true and natural selection is an effect of evolution. Because through natural selection, you see that we evolve gradually but
Since natural selection is still a hard topic for certain people to fully accept, many want to see selection evolution. But since evolution and natural selection happen over long periods of time, it makes it easier to believe in natural selection. Since we can't go back in time to see natural selection of a certain species, artificial breeding has been shown to help in showing small changes in a species over short periods of time. Darwin believed that this is a good parallel to natural selection. Since some people want to see selection cause changes over a few generations, inbreeding has shown huge changes in a short amount of time within dogs and plants. Plants have been more practiced on for a few thousand years, which in turn have helped certain plants become more edible. And for dogs, breeders have shown that they can take certain inbreeding and transform dogs into different shapes, sizes, colors, and temperaments.
Due to the lifespan, evolution can involve in a longer period or shorter period of lifetime. But by studying evolution in the textbook, we can study the evolution in change through a short period of time. But by studying evolution via natural selection, which have three assumptions. First one is variation, second heritability, and the last is differential survival and reproduce. By giving examples, Barry Hall and his colleagues studied by deleting a gene in E. coli. Genes produce an enzyme, allow bacteria to break down sugar, lactose, and food source. By removing the genes, which creates a new mutation to break down even more lactose as food source, which asks to learn that natural selection promotes evolution complexity. Selection does not create new traits, but it creates new adaptations by modifying pre-existing features. To be continued, Resistance of penicillin is an example of natural selection by differential survival and reproduction. For example, resistance actually comes from evolution of the microtube. Resistance of penicillin, it can cure infection of bacteria due to the mutation occurring in an individual bacteria that given ability to destroy the drug. Then the drug industry came with a new drug, antibiotic methylene, and eventually it became useless due to new mutations because virus can fight and create new mutations to resist the drugs. So the evolution resistance creates an arms race between human and microorganisms. Therefore, the lesson which remembers the theory of evolution because it doesn't predict everything will evolve. If the mutation can arise, evolution won't happen, such as the cause of strep throat. Because the medicine for the drug we created for strep throat, it had been used for like 50 years until now. So there's no mutation occurs. That means there's no evolution involved. At last, we conclude that natural selection, mutation, migration, and genetic drift are the mechanisms of evolution. Natural selection actually is playing a key role of evolution with the three assumptions. And the three assumptions which are heritability, variance, and differential variance and reproduction, which cause mutation to occur and arise in the genome of an individual organism to pass down to the next generation of offspring. And through the generations, the genes can interact with environment, which can cause more variance to occur. Secondly, genetic drift also play an important role in evolution because it reduces the genetic variation due to migration, small population, which can affect the evolution process. Also, genetic drift cannot cause evolution adaptations because genetic drift only occurs in allele frequencies in heritability traits. And therefore, natural selection is the cause of all adaptive evolution. It might not be every feature of evolution, since genetic drift play a major role in evolution also.